Okay. We are live. So welcome everyone to the launch of Drew Pisarra's periodic program. Drew's not only a good friend, but he is also a volunteer here at the Bureau every other Saturday. So you can come by and visit him at any point. And we're very happy to be able to host this for him. So my name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, along with my partner, Don Jokin. And yes, give it up. Also being helped by Bella Florence, one of our volunteers. Volunteer love in the house tonight. We are an all-volunteer organization, as you may have gathered, and we have a suggested donation of $10, but we always say give what you can, if you can. And I'll pass around a bag with some change in it. And if money is tight and you'd rather buy a book, that's a wonderful way to support us, and we would appreciate that. But if you're able to support in any way, we appreciate it. You can also give on Venmo at BGSQD. So I'll pass this around. And also wanted to read a land acknowledgement before we get started. So the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community Houses Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. So, Capturing Fire Press founder and publisher Reggie Kubico is a spoken word pioneer, having won the New Eurekan Poets Cafe Grand Slam, appeared on both NPR's Snap Judgment and HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam, and emerged as the first Asian American and openly queer poet to take top prizes in 3 national poetry slams. None other than the Kenyon Review has dubbed Reggie the Lady Gaga of poetry. Additionally, his new poetry collection, A Rabbit in Search of a Rolex, is forthcoming from Day 8 Books. Please give a warm welcome to Reggie Kubico.
My name is Reggie Kubico. Shout out to Bureau of General Services Queer Division. Let's give a shout out to Donnie and Greg. This is a truly phenomenal event. We are here to celebrate the debut collection of Periodic Boyfriends by Drew Pisarra. I want to shout out some people who are here and who are not here. A shout out to Sasha Sinclair, the graphic designer who designed the cover and laid out the book. I want to give a shout out to Casey Catherine Moore, who has been working with Capturing Fire, Homo Stanzas. I want to give a shout out to the writers who are here, Thaddeus Rakowski, Pamela Booker. It is so nice to see writers here in the community. I left New York in '06 to go to Washington, DC, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna commute, and I wind up getting stuck in DC. And for me, it was a time to really build poetry, queer poetry, and poetry slam culture. And in 2010, I founded Split This Rock with Sarah Browning and Melissa Tuckey. And in 2010, right before Split This Rock Poetry Festival, I decided to start Capturing Fire, which would gather queer poets together in Washington, DC. And I never thought I would start a press, but it was the natural evolution of seeing all of these dynamic writers who have incredible voices that need to be published. So we primarily publish poetry, and we, a few years ago, published a Queer Cookie Cookbook, which as soon as it comes out in print, you're really gonna want your Queer Cookie Cookbook because all cookies are queer. And then I'm sure that MAGA will ban cookies. And if they do, it's our cookies to Chick-fil-A, and it'll be a big battle, but that's another story. This book is the second book that Catching Fire published. The first book is Infinity Standing Up, which had rave reviews. And we're so excited that the reviews for this book have been very stellar and glowing. There is a sonnet for each element in the periodic table. And if you are present, you should have your own periodic table postcard. Before I introduce Drew, I am going to read a poem, one of the poems from the book. I told you that I would maybe start with the opening poem, but if you flip through this, they're so compelling. And I just found iodine. And I failed my chemistry, so, but I do know iodine. And they have palladium as an element, and I thought that was a seedy dance club. And so I didn't know its roots. So I'm going to read iodine, and I'm also going to turn it over to you to see if there's anyone that feels compelled to fall into a periodic table sonnet. Iodine. I saw myself in your face as if I had been reincarnated in a new form before I'd even had a chance to die. As if to repeat were the karmic norm and self-love, a queerly hormonal preoccupation with wounded desire. Like me, you came out to Portland to heal. Like you, I worked alongside outsiders who'd all but lost their minds in a purple haze, which science struggled to diagnose, then medicated to nonverbal calm. Seeking our own release, we drew close, then sweated till the bedsheets dripped with brine that let us dissolve as we intertwined. That was fun to read. Iodine, a magical spell. And without any further ado, I'm going to ask, this is a kumbaya moment, and hello to our live streamers out there in live stream land. Is there anyone that feels compelled to read one of the sonnets in the book or from their postcard?
I do.
All right, can we give it up? All the way from the back. The beautiful Bella. Let's give it up for Bella. Yeah, come on up. All right, let's give it up for Bella, all the way from the back.
Okay, this one is called Palladium. It was gifted to me when I walked in the door. I have not read it yet, so this is very exciting. He had on navy whites, which can't be beat. His sailor hat perched rakishly askew. He circled like a vulture smelling meat, certainly not cologne. Not on me, boo. I stank of spilled sea breezes and just soaked weed. Beneath one gigantic glitter ball, he swooped in so close that his hard-on poked my leg. Call this the gay man's mating call. It is alleged you can assess the moves of a prospective bedmate when they dance. This one had syncopated pelvic grooves. I couldn't wait to get his clingy pants off to Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation for homosexual fornication.
All right, ritualistic fornication is a way to have your Sunday afternoon. Is there anyone else that would like to? Yes, over here. What element?
Tantalum.
Tantalum. All right, let's give it up for Tantalum.
Graham.
Graham, let's give it up for Graham, yo.
Tantalum. Hungry? You can't have this. Thirsty? Too bad. I'm giving you no drop to drink. Your heart may pitter. What does it matter? I'm bad at extended commitments. So take heart. My mourning after rejection has not to do with you or chemistry or skill. Thus, thanks for the flowering plant. I had to call about that, but I shan't. I'll kill anything, any feeling that lingers inside you. Any heat, any electricity. You'll forget that I was once inside you. It's not a big deal. It's a big city. This isn't about you. It's about me. This isn't about you. I swear, it's me.
Wow. Right. By the way, shout out to my boyfriend, John Chadwick, who is here. Thank you, John. And anyone else would like to read? All right, in the back, welcome. What element do you have?
Rhodium.
Rhodium. Welcome, Rhodium, to the stage. And what is your name? Noel. Let's give it up for Noel.
When you slept with as many men as me, some strange bedfellows will enter the ranks. Men you would prefer were not sexually part of your past are, and not just as pranks. You were way too old, a decade from death, a former martyr who had been nipped and tucked, a minted old bachelor with menthol breath, whose eyebrows and pews were artfully plucked. How was I seduced? Why did I go back? I hardly found your face that attractive. My searchlight was broken, my dick gone slack. Your greedy touch left me non-reactive. I can't put into words why I drank that champagne, but drank it I did. I should have abstained.
I should have abstained. All right. Anyone else? All right. And 1, 2, going. All right, yes, life is short. Go for it. When you have a periodic table, what do you got to sign? What's your name?
I'm Richard.
Let's give it up for Richard. Anyone?
Okay. This is Gandalinian. What happens to fairies who age out of gold into gray? Do their spells lose power? Must sparkly wands double as walking canes? Do the twinkling lights that once marked loops of fizzle dazzle less and relate a slower gait in keeping with the crosswalk sign? Wait, maybe magic concentrates as we rethink our dismissive views of such less flashy gifts as MRI readings and deja. Let's make the most of who we are, not twinks, but trolls and other freaks of ancient myth. Bring on the hydras and Nosferatu. Youth may relish the pixies and fairies, for decrepit, bitter, let's be scared.
Anyone else? There is time, yes. Yes, you can't stop. It is addictive. It's like you're in a periodic table spell.
Peaceful.
Let's give it up for Giswo.
Peaceful.
Giswo. Welcome.
Technician. A master matchmaker suggested we meet. Two literary chaps with filthy minds. And we did have a natural affinity, gabbing over greyhounds till closing time. I had one too many, yet the thirst held fast. I guessed the lurid invitation to your bachelor bed. I knew full well the point was not more conversation. The search was on for zippers, snaps, buttons. So it came to grief when you dropped the drawers. For this big, this small, and next to nothing, I could have dealt with that I warned before. As to the lure of the bear derriere, yours was as flat as day old Perrier.
Excellent. This is so much fun. This is like the vagina monologues for the periodic table. It's like gay periodic, like slut table monologue, which is great. We should do this. Anyone else? This is great. There is time. This is like, as I said, I feel chemistry. Yes, in the back there. Let's give it up. All right, beautiful.
I'm gonna try to pronounce this. Praseodymium. Hi. Ring, ring, ring. No one answers the line. Why would they? The number's obsolete. A scrap of paper from another time. The digits of a man I failed to meet more than once. Ring, ring. Hello? Did someone answer? Or did we accidentally disconnect? The dial tone hums. We stay on. Redial. Ring, ring. There's no reconnect. No re-engagement from some twin beyond. No teleporter with butterfly effects that can defibrillate our wrung out hearts and warm up this coldly casual sex. Did we do it wrong? Was the number wrong? Wait, is that an incoming call? Who rang?
How did you produce? I would have started with the first three elements and then just given up. And like, in order to do this, it takes such stamina and also to stay in the sonnet form. As you look through the book, you're seeing the line breaks and the lower cases and just the strategies. They're so compelling to see how Drew has constructed this. I have many questions for Drew after hearing this. Is there anyone else? There is time. All right, I see. All right, yes. Yes, we are diving into the periodic ocean of elements. All right. And then we got Pamela Booker on deck.
So, hello. This element is terbium. Did I say that right, Drew?
Terbium.
Okay. Hush, cries Miss Flynn. We can hear you backstage. So we close our mouths and laugh with our eyes. Our cues to go on are less than 1 page away. You're a lead. I have but 14 lines. Strike that. That's not you, that's another day. But like him, you too were a good sound young man. We met in the chorus of another show with a lavish wardrobe for its larger cast. You sang tenor. I'd snagged a cameo. The tunes were classics. The orchestra dragged. The choir master reprimanded us both. You'll need to aim higher to hit that note. We stayed on key, but you cut your third act decades after high school. Lights fade to black.
All right, next up, let's put it for Pamela Booker, y'all.
Can't resist you. Okay, so I'm reading from Barium. Thick fur coated his back, all black, no curl, a kind of rat poison in follicling form for some. Dressed up, milder specks unfurled, so geek chic, so clueless, adorable. Yet while I can act the frauteur, who gets satisfaction from humping and pumping? Tortoise shell rims, tight bow ties, pin pocket protectors, and body hair cardigans. A fetish is not a connection, more like a potion you ingest through the holes in your eyes. I gulped hard. The magic wore off, so I dressed again, then went home to avoid any chatter that might suck the oxygen out of that house of fuck.
House of fun, everyone. Wow, I want to get into that house. Do we have anyone else? This is your moment. Yes, I love it. I love it.
Reading Serio. We stood on opposite sides of the bar, our faces burning pleasure, our eyes lit up like zippos at full flame, while soused on absolute lime drops. Vodka shots made with lemon juice, not lime, so sour. Yet far from finished, once scandals had closed, we hit Stark Street, then lurched to a ramshackle house, where bowling balls from poos to jade ascended every splintered stair. The door ajar, roommates asleep,
We whispered witty chit-chat built on humor's talent to arouse. It was that rare encounter, hot and chase, sweet misbehavior in a life half lived, for we died, or at least one of us did.
All the feels, all the feels. Anyone else? Yes, in the front. Welcome, welcome.
Neon. It's a fairly straight shot from Downey to Vegas, but the drive feels long since your car lacks AC. So we roll down windows as far as they'll go, then hide behind shades that you pinched from an overlit mini mart. Wind sands our faces, skin clings to cracked leather. We're doomed to sweat, flash dried by hot air. This sun's rays are relentlessly unkind, yet still we drive on after a sleepless night spent dry humping on your childhood bed. Is that Mecca in the distance ahead? No such luck. Sin City is one hot mess of cheap brunches, rushed weddings, stained box springs, slot machines, false teeth, fake breasts, and faux bling.
Some these sonnets. All right, who else? Yes, in the back. All right, let's welcome our next periodic table. Drew, I hope you're taking note of this. I think everything will be red. Not any further.
We're taking all of your material. I'm Darcy, and this is Mercury. God of trickery, God of thievery, fleet-footed Hermes with the snake-wrapped rod, God of innuendo and frippery, God of luck you should have stooped. Yes, that God. Holy is the whoreman who gives for free without any call for a brash doubloon. Holy is his hunger. Holy moly, that's me. That very man. So to resume, Lord of pulse quickening, Lord of the rump, Daemon of my barometric pressure, Lord of the fantasized bumpity bump bump. Manhandle my thermostatic pleasure. I turned you down once, God. Lord over me, babe. You won't forget.
And sexy. Who else do we have? Yes, Thad Rakowski, y'all. Thad.
Be here, glad to hear everybody, and I'll read the postcard I was given, which is CD Cadmium, Seeking the Bone. Seeking the Bone can take you places that you've never known, like Zen apartments over sushi spots with bright yellow neon blinking open. Not that I'll be eating fish. Tonight's dish, though raw, eels its way outside the bento box. This loft is everything I could wish for. Red satin drapes, a bottle green throw on a fold-out couch where I cry, ouch, ouch, before I bow out for a quick detour to the little boy's room where I pass out, soused. You knock 3 times because you aren't sure if I'm there or if I've snuck out your back door. Relax, babe. I'm ready for more.
All right, more. Some more. Who's got it? All right. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the author of Periodic Boyfriends. Last night, was the DC book party at Homo Stanzas at DuPont Underground. Drew totally rocked it out. Drew Pisarra is the author of the poetry collection Infinity Standing Up and 2 short story collections, You're Pretty Gay and Public Spanking. A literary grantee of both Cafe Royal Cultural Foundation and Curious Creators. Drew also penned the radio play, The Strange Case of Nick M., which was commissioned by Imago Theater, then broadcast on KBOO FM. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the phenomenal, the poetic stylings of the one and only Drew Pisarra. Let's give it up for Drew. Finally happening. Beautiful.
I think I'm the only one who hasn't read yet. Thank you, Reggie, for everything, for the reading last night, for publishing the book. And
Get late, blow your sleep, it's from the nerves. You're extra lot, I gotta get. I'll go in. I'll go in.
you okay? Okay, so I'm going to start off with.
I don't want to sit. Gotta stay up.
I'm going to start with hydrogen, which is the first element. And it's actually the first poem I wrote in this series. Hydrogen is the lightest element. So I wanted something, I was thinking about a man who really lifted me up, but it's also the first element. So I wanted someone who, in the end, left me alone. So this is hydrogen. You had no scent, or maybe I smoked way too many cigarettes at the time, so everything tasted like street meat, fried in cheap beer or rum-glazed pork. I don't know how you were both my tall glass of water and a plate of thick chops, but oh my dear, you were. I slathered and slobbered over you in bed, my tongue all sloppy and slurred, exploring, whoring, roaring drunk into blackouts I couldn't fathom or see, outside memory's anonymity, and a recall that splinters into 2 on a single bed, strictly made for 1, because you kicked me out after we were done. No, don't feel bad for me. My boyfriend Sock made the cards, and he also made these fabulous pants for me. So the story has a happy ending. Okay, so next I'm going to read Chromium. So that's on page 26. So this one is about a guy, with Chrome, it's like, I was thinking about diners and motorcycles, and there was a guy I dated when I lived out in Portland who had a motorcycle, and I wanted this poem to sound like a motorcycle. You can tell me if it works or not. Chromium. Can I tell? Can I tell? Can I tell you? Can I tell you? Can I tell you, and would you tell me? Would you tell? Would you tell me? And if so, then when? When would you? When would you tell me? When would you? I would not, did not. Would that I had when I should have. I hid behind you, held you from behind you on your motorcycle as we rode and the engine went vroom, vroom, vroom. And because of the motorcycle, you could not hear me because of the vroom. So I did tell you, but did I tell you so you could hear? Did you hear it? Did you? So when you were listening to the other poems, there's a lot of elements that nobody knows what the hell they are. And some of them, because I listened to this podcast from the Royal Society of Chemistry, and I would listen to the podcast on the element, and then I would meditate and be like, okay, which man that I slept with this And sometimes when I'm reading the poems, I'm like, what were the qualities in this poem that were from the element? But I always remember, I don't know why, but selenium really stuck with me in that it's used in dandruff shampoos. And it's the name comes from Selene, who was the moon goddess. So both of those properties are in this poem at some point, or references. Selenium. You resemble a Ken doll who's lost his tan. A man-sized toy with unblinking fish eyes that stare at your ceiling's unmoving fan. A breeze has failed to materialize. So we rest and smoke, exhaled from a joint, our bodies in clam sauce, our needs unmet. I scratch my head and wonder what's the point, and finding none, ponder whether to get a taxi to take me home or to fall asleep, bathed in white noise from your TV set, which is mounted on the bedroom wall. The station's off air, the remote unseen. I have fallen asleep, not wanting to, alone, untouched, as I dream of the moon. So last night I wrote down like 10 poems that I was going to read, and then I always get nervous. So it was really good to hear so many poems that didn't require me. And as you can imagine, with 118 poems, there are some commitment issues at work. So I'm going to give you a couple choices, and then I'll just go with whichever one you want to hear. So how about uranium or mendelevium?
Mendelevium.
Okay. I'm glad you picked that one. So Mendeleev is the one who created the periodic table chart, so it does feel like an important person to acknowledge. Mendeleev. True story. The queen who introduced me to online dating was a Russian souse who favored flavored vodka. In those days, a weakly effective bond. I went to his place twice. First, after his hemorrhoid operation. He asked if I would like to see his newly shaven crack. No. Our second date, he logged into a chat room where he initiated contact with this classic. Gay white male in search of deep relationship. How big is your dick? I laughed long and hard. He grew bewildered. I explained too much, too soon. Looking back, I would say he was ahead of his time. Oh, I was talking to somebody right before the reading too, because I was, I think it was John, and I was saying, he asked like, if anybody from the book was going to be here, and I'm relieved to say no. But this person who's platinum does live in the neighborhood, so thank you for not coming. Platinum. In the entry hall of your 10th floor flat, Broadway posters line the two facing walls. Evita, Hamilton, In the Heights, Cats. You list which shows open up in the fall. You ask if I want a drink, then mix a single martini since I have declined. You down that drink, lickety split, then fix your eyes on mine. Well, not me, my behind. In no time flat, we're rolling on the floor. The Rent soundtrack fills the air. Enchanté. By the time we disrobe, another score accompanies our broke fest, cabaret. That night was so deliciously wicked. I'd relish an encore. That's the ticket. Okay, we've got another choice one. I wasn't sure which one to go with here. Polonium or Nihonium?
Polonium.
Okay. I'm always worried when I get the choice that I'm going to turn to and be like, oh, no, not that one. Polonium. The past is a rickety P.O. box, an ancient metal relic overstuffed with left as lost letters. I've tried the lock. The key won't work. The inner latch is stuck. The past's an unearthed chunk of pitchblende ore, a black mass of radioactive rock that burns one's fingers so that heretofore one's sense of touch is sporadically blocked. You occupy a space inside my skull, though who gave you access, I'm not a clue. The ache's persistent, illogical, dull. Your thermal imprints, one I can't undo. The past is a man with no pants, just a shirt. The past is a full-on flirt, full of hurt. I was gonna do Praesiodinium, but somebody else took that one. Uh-oh. I liked hearing it. I thought it was great. Okay, I'm gonna go to Tennessee. So Tennessee, one thing that's interesting about this element is that these scientists in Tennessee had this idea that if they shot this one element at another element, they'd be able to create this new element. And they were trying to get the one element, which was rare, from Russia. And every time it would come to the United States, pilots had the ability to say, I'm not going to drop off this package. And it has to go back to the original country. So twice the element came and was sent back to Russia. And then eventually they worked out the paperwork and it came through. So I was really thinking about like an incident that there was a lot of back and forth between two. And you'll see how that works out. Tennessee. There were two men in the bed beside me. More specifically, one lay on each side. A blonde surfer dude who spoke Pure Valley, and a Memphis rocker whose hair was dyed blue-black. And so, when I rolled to my right, I got a sweet taste of the Cali coast. Then I'd roll to the left to be polite and be rewarded by a holy ghost of passion. Jesus Christ, that man could kiss. I don't mean to say the other could not. I equally relished both pairs of lips and all else they offered up on the spot. That one menage a trois possessed the charms of a lover with 4 legs and 4 arms. I'm going to close with an element that everybody knows, but you're going to tell me which one it is. So either silver or gold.
Gold.
Let's go with
Oh.
okay. Let's go with gold first, just because, you know, gold comes first. Gold is first. Okay. Gold. To be blonde is to be bland, is to be better, is to be better than silver or platinum, since to be white is to be void, blank like a letter that hasn't been written yet, like a card with its hallmark cover and inner verse, like a fortune cookie without regard for its scrappy paper promise of worse things to come. To come is not to connect, not automatically, not as if goo were Elmer's glue, for the bond's not direct. It's suspect when it comes to me and you. You are that blonde who leads nowhere fast, outside the fast lane, straight into my past. Now let's hear it for silver. Oh, this, I actually like this. Okay. Silver. La creme de la creme. Not quite. Even so, I desperately wanted this thing to work. It had been eons since I'd given a go to a long shot prospect minus the smirk. You were not my first choice. I was not yours. So what? A runner-up merits respect. Regardless, our pipe dreams expired swift, for the heart is not ruled by the intellect. Not that our shared intentions weren't strong, not that we undervalued sleeping spoons, not that someone did the other one wrong, not that this was it. This was not. I soon had to admit that the wandering eye wasn't yours alone. I too was that guy.
Sorry, everyone. This is a rare opportunity. We've got a few more minutes, and I just thought I have so many questions in my mind about listening to this. So I have a few questions to ask you, and maybe some of our audience might have some questions. So, what was the time period of? First of all, did you write this in sequential order, and how long did it take to finish the book?
It took about 3 years, and I started in sequential order, and then I got bored. And I also, when I was starting it, I was just focused very much on the fucks, right? Like, who were the men that I had fucked in my past? And then I was like, holy shit, like looking at your life as just a series of fucks is really dark. So then I opened it up and I was like, well, who are the ones I just wanted to fuck? Which somehow lightened it. And then I, like in the periodic table, there's the two sections that are broken out at the bottom, which are the lanthanides and the actinides. I say that like we all know, right? Because I had to learn that. And I wanted those sections to be different since they're broken out from the main table. So the lanthanides are all gay men from my past who aren't with us anymore. And then the actinides are men that I only knew virtually. So they're sort of twice removed.
For each element, how much research did you look up for each element? You were saying that the shampoo product, is that selenium?
Yeah.
And so did you,
It sticks.
yeah. Did you like look up the qualities, and did you even get those elements? Did you even want to hold them in your, I mean, some of them are accessible, some of them are dangerous.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear about the research per element.
Well, just the dangerous part, that's an interesting comment because initially when I was going through the elements, it was like, ooh, this is toxic, that's significant. And it's actually not. So many of the elements are toxic, so I couldn't use that as, and thank God, like my past isn't just like toxic encounters, right? So it did require going to different sources. But the main two places I went were these two podcasts. One was called Chemistry and Its Element, which is a podcast by the Royal Society of Chemistry. And the other one was called Elemental, and it's a podcast out of New Zealand. And they're like, anywhere from 6 to 15 minutes. And that was enough for me. And then other ones too, like there's associative stuff, like aluminum is very much about a reproducible sort of thing that doesn't have a lot of value. And actually aluminum is actually supposed to be aluminium, but because it got branded in the United States as aluminum, we call it aluminum, but nobody else does. Or like palladium, like I thought about the dance club that we both probably went to when we were younger. So
Yeah, I think I might have blown you somewhere in the
okay. Reggie is not palladium.
The feelings go up. Some of them are really funny, some of them are really sad. Does the element dictate the mood, or was it what you were going through during this time. And I know that you've been writing, you said 3 years, so was this when the pandemic started?
I think it was before the pandemic started. After my Infinity Standing Up came out, and that book is a series of sonnets that were inspired by this one man in particular. I really felt like, I really thought, oh, I wrote this book to get this person out of my system, and it didn't really work.
Oh.
And then it was like, how do I cleanse my palate? So I was like, well, if he's only one of 118, that the significance diminishes greatly. And then, like, to my great fortune, I met 119. So that helped too.
Got it. I was gonna ask if you had to fuck more guys in order to finish
No.
the book. You told me fuck if you're gonna finish the book. It's due next week.
Actually, last night at the reading last night, a woman asked me, she said, did you really have sex with 118 men? And I said, there are men who didn't make this book. So, yes.
And we will take a moment of silence for the men who did not make it. Here's an element in another multiverse for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to the audience to see if there are any questions.
So why elements? Why bring the periodic table to sexual history? I wish I could remember. I feel like part of it had to do with the prior poetry book really was playing with numbers in a very different way, because usually sonnets are numbered sonnet 1, sonnet 2, sonnet 3. And so with that book, I was like, oh, what if a sonnet was sonnet infinity? What if the sonnet was sonnet pi or sonnet $18.99? So the number would be commenting. And then I liked that the periodic table of elements has its own numbers and that those numbers come with properties. So it just seemed like a natural thing. It does seem crazy to me now, though, that like I committed to writing 118. Like it seems so too much. And yeah, for some reason it clicked with me. It was really fun.
And I cannot do a sonnet to save my life. I write poems, but I just cannot do form. Maybe a haiku, but that's it.
No, you did the one sonnet for the project.
Oh, and that killed me. That like, and I could have fucked like 10,000 guys, and I still would have had trouble with that. So that's what I admire about your writing as well. There is a theatrical element. You're also a playwright, so I'm really wondering if there is sort of a theatrical element that comes into play when you're writing this, or whether it is a literary poet. Like I know Gertrude Stein's one of your influences, and sometimes when I need to write a poem, I'll use repetition in order to find something. So I just wanted to just ask about that process when you're writing theatrical, dramatic context.
Yeah, well, I do think of poetry as mini monologues. And I do like when a poem has a narrative arc so that it tells a little story. Yeah, I mean, the last poetry book, I actually broke it up into acts. And I do have a fantasy with this book that it would be great to do in a theatrical presentation with 118 different men, where they were just, And the producers in the house.
They all have to be hot. And that would be fun. That would really be fun.
Yeah.
Who has a play with 118? That would be fun to do.
Right?
Yeah. Any questions before we close out? Yes, in the back.
I just wanted to circle back to the consideration of form. It's not unusual for contemporary poets to dabble in form, but your level of commitment to formal writing is unusual. And I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about what draws you to it and what emerges from it as an experience of the writing.
I do love form, and I think part of, I don't know where I read this at one point, but I was reading about Homer, and those poems are so long, and
but they were written in a way with rhyme, I believe, that made them easier to memorize, and that there's something inherently memorable about rhyme. And I want to write things that are memorable. So like the beauty of the sonnet is the closing couplet, right? Like it's always an opportunity to have a little end note that people will remember, the little, ting, ting. And I also like form because I feel like established structures force me to get out of my own thinking and to examine in a deeper fashion, because I have to figure out not just how to communicate what I'm feeling, but how to get from point A to point B. And there's something about that pathway when it's predestined in some ways that allows me to surprise myself in the writing process, which I really love.
What is your favorite poetic device?
I'm going to say rhyme.
I like repetition.
Yeah.
So we're rhyme and repetition.
Yeah, that's why we're
We're
good
doing
friends.
Anyone else? Last question. Yes, Bella.
Yeah, if you were one of the
Oh.
elements. But not based on.
How
the other
dare
side.
you? Welcome to the Poet Studio. You know nothing about you.
Oh, I'd have to think about that a little bit.
Get back to me.
I will. You know I will.
I know you will.
What 3 elements would you be?
Oh, that's so interesting to me. I definitely feel like I'd have to have one that has radiation in it. So maybe. Wow, that's so interesting. Well, I like cobalt. And well, I'm just gonna go with cobalt right now.
Cobalt it is. Thank you all so much. And General Services Third Edition program. If you buy the book, there is a free tote bag designed by Suck.
A certain number.
So there's if they are running out though. I do want to say they're running out. Please take a cookie, have some lemonade and some soda, help yourself. And we thank you to Greg and Dottie so much.
And thank you, Reggie.
You'll be signing, will you be in the
Sure.
front of the room
Okay.
there for signing?
Yeah. that's
Okay.
fine.
There it is.
Thanks, everyone who joined us online.